Code monkey, get up, get coffee. Code monkey, go to job. Code monkey, have boring meeting with boring manager Rob. Rob say code monkey very diligent, but his output stink. His code not functional or elegant. What do code monkey think? Code monkey think maybe manager wanna write login page himself. Code monkey not say it out loud. Code monkey not crazy, just proud. Code monkey like Fritos. Code monkey like Tab and Mountain Dew. Code monkey very simple man. Big warm fuzzy secret heart. Code monkey like you. Code monkey like you.
How they hangin' down, dudes? It's me, the Media Raptor, and welcome back to another episode of the Media Raptor Reviews. I'm finally getting around to what I said I would do last review, and I'm going to review all of Season 1 of the awesome Netflix show Narcos Mexico. Now, I should tell you this right now. First of all, I have a pretty bad cold, so if I sound off, I'm sorry. If I don't have as much energy as normal, I'm sorry. But also, if you haven't seen the show, no, I highly recommend it. And I'm going to be spoiling a lot with this review. So if you still want a chance to watch Narcos Mexico and not be completely spoiled, here's what I'll tell you right now. It is a fantastic show. However, some of these segments with the police officers did drag a little bit. It was far more interesting following the cartel members, but overall, everyone did a fantastic job, and it has a truly unsettling ending. Alright, we good now? Cool. Let's dive right in and talk about Narcos Mexico. I talked about the very first episode concerning the idea of I was curious about, is it a prequel or a sequel series? And it turns out it is very much a prequel. And I figured that out by the end of the first episode. It occurred to me afterwards. Because if you remember in Narcos, in the first season, they discuss one character named, I forget I can't pronounce his last name, but his name is Kiki. And essentially, they talk about something horrible that happened to him that gave the DEA a lot more power. This series is about Kiki. So, right off the bat, I kind of realized, this is not going to end well for him. But I still watched it because Kiki is a very likable character. His struggles are incredibly believable. He wants to be a good person. He wants to do the right thing. He's the kind of person I think we need more of in the world, someone who's willing to go that extra mile to do what's right, even if it means getting hurt. Although I do think he didn't realize just how far this was going and what this would ultimately cost him. So, the show is 10 episodes, and each episode is just over an hour long. Excuse me. So really, you could logically binge this entire show in one day. In fact, if you have like a 4-day weekend, you could watch all of Narcos. And one thing I do have to tell you about the show up front is if you don't speak Spanish, you gotta pay attention, because there's a lot of Spanish in this show, so you need the subtitles on at least. And you kinda gotta pay attention, because sometimes a big plot point happens to be in Spanish. That's not a complaint. I'm just saying so you know while you're watching. I think with the first season of Narcos, it took me to about episode 3 to really be like, okay, this show is good now. It took me to about episode 3 to kind of get really invested in the characters, to get invested in the world. Well, not the world, in the struggle and everything that was going on. Although the first episode definitely had my attention with how they explained how I think the whole cartel began. This show does all that within the first episode, but like I said, if you want more details on that, go watch the first episode. It has, my review on the first episode, it drags you in and refuses to let go. The very first episode is very much discussing, okay, who are these people and how did they get to where they were? Our future crazy cartel leaders. Who are they? And it builds them up as very relatable and real people. Just two guys trying to grow some good old-fashioned weed. Which is kind of ironic now when you look at it, considering the fact that it's completely legal where I live. So, go us, I guess. But episode 2, I honestly think episode 2 might be my favorite episode of the whole season, and that's kind of saying a lot, because episode 2 essentially discusses how there is plazas. Long story short, that means, it's like they're gangs. Each gang controls part of the city, blah, blah, blah. They pay the cops and they stick to their own turf. But episode 2, the main character, Felix, is it Felix? Yeah, Felix. He goes, okay, but what if we unite everyone under a different name? We kind of see how the first cartel was made, and it is fascinating. From there, we jump on to episode 3, which was probably my least favorite episode because it was a lot more focusing on silence and trying to build suspense. I don't really think worked because I didn't feel like the stakes were high enough or they weren't established yet. That isn't an insult on any of the writers. In fact, I think I give them great credit for trying something. But episode 3 was kind of the weakest as far as I remember. And I remember pretty clearly these episodes were great. Episode 4 and 5, that's where things start to really pick up. 4 and 5 are kind of where you start to kind of see things unravel and yet get stronger. We see the depravity, we see the violence, we see everything starting to escalate, leading us to episode 6 and 7, where things kind of get crazy. Episode 8, things start to look up, actually. I liked episode 8. It really gives you a sense of hope. The writing in that episode, it makes you think things are going to get better, that in the end, things will turn out okay. And then episodes 9 and 10 hit. They are so depressing, and so devastating, and so well written. I don't know if it was the same writers. I'm going to check this real quick. I'm not sure if it was the same writers throughout every single episode, but hang on. Can't seem to find it. I don't know if it is the same writers, and I'm not going to go onto Netflix and look it up and deal with all that. I don't want to be constantly going back and forth. Hang on. Oh, I can just check under the episode list here. Awesome. Hang on, let me just check real quick. So the guys who wrote episode 9 also wrote episode 10, okay. I'm not going to go through and check every single one and see if they wrote all of them, but those guys are amazing. The episodes are tense, action-packed, emotionally devastating. I kind of felt like somebody had essentially grabbed my spine, ripped it out of my back, frozen it, stuck it back in there, and kept freezing it, if that makes any sense. These episodes are so unbelievably tense, your entire body clenches every time someone so much as opens a door. Throughout this entire series, anytime any character, good or bad, even sat down, I remember thinking, is this it? Okay, this could be it. This could be where they die. Because nobody is safe. And let me tell you, I'm not going to spoil how, they somehow made Charlotte's Web the most haunting thing I have ever heard in most TV shows. It is one of the most haunting things I've heard in a TV show in a long time. Now, as I said though, while these episodes, the stories are great, some of the scenes not so much, because they try and do a lot of character building, and I give them great credit on that. I love these characters. I think all the characters in this are very well written, they're very realistic, and they all actually, you want them all to live. Aside from the bad guys, but I'll talk about them in a minute. But some of the scenes where they're kind of having to deal with just we're just sort of we're cops. I don't know how to put it into words, but there's downtime scenes with the cop characters, and while they are likable and they do carry the scenes quite well, partially and thanks to the fantastic acting, I felt like they were missing something. Every scene we got that was downtime with the members of the cartel or the other gang members or the drug dealers, I loved, because you kind of saw what they were planning. With these guys, maybe if they focused more, like they talked more about their plans to take them down, I would have liked it more, but even then, like I said, those scenes are relatively short, and you don't want to skip them because you do miss a few important things. So, all in all though, for the trade-off for everything else you get, like all the plot twists, all the development, all the amazing characterization, it's all worth it. And part of this is due, in fact, like I said, to the acting. I will completely level with you guys. When I heard Michael Pena was going to be in this show, I genuinely thought they were joking. Michael Pena, I only know him from Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp as Lewis, the fast-talking comic relief character. I was thinking, how could this guy pull off a serious role in a show like Narcos, which is known for its sheer brutality? Well, Mr. Pena, I owe you an apology now. He is the best actor in this entire show. Every scene he's in, he is such a convincing actor. You will feel so bad for him. You will feel his joy. You will feel his pain. It is so well done. And you know who else is a fantastic actor? Aside from, well, everyone. I believe, yeah. I'm going to try and pronounce this, and I will probably horrifically butcher it, so forgive me. I'm gonna try and just lift off a bunch of names here. Diego Luna. Okay, that one's pretty easy. That Felix, one of the guys, he's awesome. Tenoch Hirota. Sorry, I'm completely going to butcher these names. The guy who plays Rafa, he's fantastic. Joaquin Curcio, Don Nirto, or again, I'm sorry, I'm not good at pronouncing names. Alejandro Eda. All these actors, I talked about this in the Camelot review for episode 1, that I really don't speak Spanish, so I can't tell if they're acting well or not. I did some research, did some crash course work essentially. Started studying body language, how they show emotions, and everything is so well done. There was not a single bad actor, including the child actors in this show. And that's saying a lot, because child actors kind of have a habit of not being the best actors in the world, if you know what I mean. Not gonna name any names. You know who you are. That 2002 Cat in the Hat movie. I still haven't forgot that. Also, kind of a spoiler, but I am happy to say that, shoot, I forgot his name. He's one of my favorite actors currently. Pedro Pascal. No, not him. Pedro Pascal. He's a great actor. He's not in this. Wagner Moura, the guy who played Pablo Escobar in Narcos, the original series, does have a very brief cameo, and he absolutely nails it. Pablo Escobar was my all-time favorite part of Narcos. Partially because he was a villain you both feared, and yet you had sympathy for. They were constantly pulling you back and forth of making you hate this guy, and yet feel sorry for this guy. And I really like the new villains we got. Like I said, Felix and Rafa, they start out as these two guys who it kind of seems like they're getting in over their heads, and then you see the power they have, you see what they do with that power, you see how it twists them, corrupts them, and bends them, and you fear them. There wasn't as much sympathy for them, but I don't think there was supposed to be this time. Special effects. One thing which I forgot, which I have to commend this show for, is its sheer brutality. And I know it's Netflix, you can get away with this, it's kind of like HBO, but the violence and some of the gore in this are amazing. But what I also have to commend the show for is knowing when to hide things, knowing when to tell and not show. There are several scenes in here where they will openly admit to what they do, like kinds of torture and mutilation, but they won't show you on screen, or they'll show you the aftermath or right before. They want your mind to take that idea and think about it. They want you to come up with what they're going to do. And let me tell you, as somebody who does a lot of creative writing just for fun, it was kind of terrifying, I'll be honest. And I think part of what makes it so terrifying is the realism, the fact that everyone is just human. There aren't superpowers, there aren't like gods and angels in this show. Well, that's kind of a lie, I guess. Like, some of them believe in God, but you know what I mean. There aren't, like, supernatural forces. This isn't, like, supernatural Narcos. It's just, this is what happened in real life. We did this. We let this happen. This is what humanity is capable of. If you're expecting me to go off on some speech about how we need to be better, don't worry, I'm not gonna. Anyhow. My other part about Narcos, which I absolutely adored the first 3 seasons, and I absolutely love here, is the cinematography. They use a lot of unique angles, a lot of shaky cam, a lot of handheld cam to kind of make the action scenes feel a bit more impactful. But they also are willing to do long shots. They're willing to let a shot go on for 20, 30 seconds without breaking it up, and I think that's something a lot of filmmakers should do more of, because an action scene is only good if you can actually see what's going on. John Wick knew that, and that's one of my all-time favorite action franchises, and I really hope the third one doesn't drop the ball. But yeah, a lot of the shootouts and chase scenes, while they are shaky or kind of hard to see what's going on, those times it's done intentionally and it works. The more longer shootouts, they have long shots or very quick cuts, or they make it seem like it's one long take. The establishing shots, they're wide and sweeping and beautiful. Kind of makes you forget just how deadly everything going on is. It's just the beauty of the landscape. And I do know that a location scout was killed before this show was filmed. I would like to give my condolences to the man and his family. I do not know his name. I'll look it up. Sorry. I know this is kind of awkward to suddenly bring up now, but if we're talking about cinematography and stuff, I think it isn't fair for me to just sweep that one under the rug. I heard about that before the show aired. I was actually at one point thinking the show might not even get made now because, well, that was kind of awkward. But, hang on. Carlos Mona's Portal. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right, and if I'm not, I'm so sorry. To Mr. Portal's family and to anyone who knows him, I am sorry for your loss. I hope he is at peace now. Anyhow, something else I love about this show, that I loved about all 3 seasons, as well as the cinematography, is the music. I don't know if I should call it mariachi music. I'm really sorry. I'm kind of taking crash courses in world culture as I'm trying to learn more and stop being so assuming, or actually accidentally assuming a stereotype and stuff like that. But if you guys could let me know what kind of music this is, I'd love to know, because it is beautiful, I can tell you that. The vocals, they use the same theme song, which is one of my all-time favorite theme songs now. The guitar music is calm and beautiful. The vocals are so pleasing to listen to. The score can be very terrifying when it wants to be. Just everything about this show is great, aside from a few hiccups here and there, like I mentioned, with some of the subplots kind of being a little dull, or some of the scenes being a little dull. Maybe a bit more punching up in the dialogue would have helped. But overall, I can definitely recommend Narcos Mexico. If you haven't seen seasons 1 to 3 yet, I actually recommend you watch those first, then go and watch Narcos Mexico. Yes, some things might make a little more sense if you do it in the opposite order, but trust me, it's cooler this way, I guess. Maybe that's just my opinion. I'm giving Narcos Mexico a solid 3.5 Raptor claws out of 4 for the entire series. I absolutely adored it. And I really hope there is more in the future, as I will totally binge watch and review it in the future. And I hope you guys enjoyed this review. So at this point, normally I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to ask you guys, could you like and subscribe? I really don't like doing that, but hey, it's what you gotta do if you want to get anywhere these days. And until next time, this is the Media Raptor saying keep cool, and I'll see all you dino dudes around. Later.